What up, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Princess, SoundCloud, SoundClick. Your boy Tom 202 sitting on the back patio, chilling. Anyways, check out my music, Tone. Title of the album is just right there. But this is another excerpt of the NBA is Fixed, and I want to talk about something I just read about Dirk Nowitzki's uh, contract. For one, he got a 2-year, $50 million contract. Okay, that is significant, and they likened it to. There's a lot of pieces to this, but they likened it to what Kobe did for his last couple of years. He had a 2-year, $48.6 million contract, and Kobe was like, "Yeah, this is just what you do." And then they talk about D Wade and how D Wade was never the highest player for the Heat, and of course at one time LeBron was, but I don't know who was the highest player other than I need to research that. Like, who was a higher player than D Wade when LeBron wasn't there? Who was it? Who was it? Chris Bosh, I think, was on it. So somebody check that out for me. But nonetheless, uh, when you look at the whys and wherefores of Nowinski's and other players and what they do right before they leave, in the 2-year clause that they take with the for when they become free agents first, and then they take this colossal contract if they can, if they're worth it. And the stars is who I'm talking about. And so this is a kind of a thing that they do. Like, Mark Cuban didn't hesitate to pay Dirk, because Dirk said he took the pay cuts. Son, he says he took the pay cuts because he wanted to compete in 2014 and 15. So I think they got rid of Chandler and they got somebody else. But he was like, I did that because I wanted to compete. I wanted to make a run for the championship, or a run for the playoffs. Is actually what he said. I want to make a run for the playoffs. But the ultimate goal is the championships. And Dirk at one time was MVP, so he was doing $23 million a year. I think he was doing 22 or 23. Might have been less. I think it was less than that. I think he was doing like that for 2-year contracts. So nonetheless, he's been the face of the franchise and so on and so forth and yada yada yada. So he was like, pay me. And so what it seems to be is a trend. That's why I keep telling you guys the NBA is fixed. It's just a soap opera. But what seems to be the trend is when you have these prima donna superstar players who are the face of the franchise, what they do is they give them these. They wait until they are. They wait until they are free agents, and then they give them this huge hike in pay. And of course, it's to wow us, because Kobe even talked about you get criticized for taking so much money. Uh, but they give them these huge hikes in their pay, and then they leave and they're out. You know what I'm saying? So let's think about this. If LeBron stays in Cleveland, we know he's going to be in Cleveland now. You think he's doing 30 million for like 1 year or something like that? If LeBron stays in Cleveland, we know he's going to stay in Cleveland for this year, but we don't know about next year, year after. If he stays in Cleveland for how many years you think LeBron got in? Another 5, another 6, maybe. Let's just give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's say he's got another 7 years left in him. So he goes to 2021-22. In his last year, or his last 2 years, he'll get, I mean, you got to look at prevailing wage or whatever the wage hike will be, in the cost of living and all that, because, it'll be crazy. So he will get what's equivalent to what Nowitzki is getting now, which is Kobe's 48.6. Then he got out. Tim Duncan also had a large contract. Uh, Then he got out, and they actually paid Tim Duncan 5.6 to say, "Hey, goodbye," because he was like, "I'm leaving." It was like, "Well, here's $5.6 million. Thank you for all the championship games and being the face, pretty much, of the Spurs," which is pretty dope if you ask me. But it looks like they pay these guys all this money right before they're getting ready to opt out, and these are just the superstars is what I'm saying. Like, I don't think D Wade, even though he went to Chicago, is ever going to see that type of money. Even though he's getting good money now, I don't think he's ever going to see LeBron money. I don't think D Wade is ever going to see 50 million in a 2 year deal. I don't think I don't know. I don't know if he's ever going to even see what OKC just did, 54.3 million to Kevin Durant. And D Wade is an apex player. I mean, he's at Chicago, but for one, we know Chicago might go to the playoffs if Mr. Glass, Derrick Rose, stays healthy. Have a good chance of going to the playoffs. The Knicks have a better chance of going to the playoffs. The 76ers will not go to the play. I tell you what, though, the 76ers had the worst record last year. Just as getting off the beaten path. But the 76ers had a worse record. They won like 9 or 10 games. But if they pick up a couple good drafts, you know what I'm saying? They could, and then you start looking at what, 30, winning 30 games. I mean, when LeBron came back to Cleveland, Cleveland was only doing 22, 23, 25 the next year. Then when he came back, they hit 50. So just imagine. Look at this soap opera, even though we know this is not going to happen. But just imagine if LeBron lost this year, Cleveland. Went all the way, lost, right? Got beat by Golden State. And said, you know what? I'm going to go to the 76ers. Why? Because I'm a free agent. Why? Because the 76ers will have the cap space to put me on for a year, 2 years, and pay me 40, $50 million. Tell me he wouldn't move him and that beautiful, my God, that woman is beautiful. That girl is fun. I'm sorry. Him and his family, down to Philadelphia. You tell me you wouldn't do it. He'd do it. He'd do it. He'd do it. If he thinks he can get 100 mil in less than 10 years, and 100 mil in less than 5 years. Think of the drama that would cause. Not only that, they would go from winning 10 to probably 30, 35. They'd be in playoff contention immediately. Then they would just get some supporting cast if he doesn't eat up all the cap space. But anyways, so what I'm saying is, I think they pay these. I think Nowinski is on his way out, because I don't think he's going to get another contract that's $50 million. I think Mark Cuban and all of the people, all of the owners, I think this is what they do when they want to go ahead and let the player feel good about what he's done for the team. The franchise player, franchise player, and then go ahead and exit him out. So I think within the next 3 years, Nowinski that's going to be it for him. I think Kevin Garnett is finished this year. He's going to try to go to the playoffs, but his knees ain't worth a doggone. So he's done. And I think the 76ers, who's the worst team in the league, I think the 76ers are going to get an apex player. I think they're going to free up a whole bunch of cap space, and I think they're going to draw two good players. And one of them is going to be a marquee player, which is going to bring money back into the city because of the sport. And the other one, there's going to be another one. There might be two more supporting casts. And I think they're going to make a run for it. Next thing you know, it'll be 48 wins, 50 wins, 60 wins. Boom. playoff contention for a couple years, I think whoever the marquee player is going to leave after that. It's going to be like, okay, we got you guys back in. And I think that the powers that be do this. I think it has nothing to do with the owners. I think it's the people who call the shots and say, hey, we want somebody to go to the 76ers. Send this person, pay them this colossal amount, tell them to be there for 2 years. Let that be the reason. It's your boy Tone 202. The NBA is fixed.